Here.
Councilmember Julie Berberich.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs.
Here.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Here.
We have a quorum, Madam Mayor, with 6 present and 1 currently absent, with expectation of connecting soon, I'm sure.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so we will go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilman Daniels, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda, including the consent agenda and the approval of the minutes of October 12th, special meeting, and October 13th, regular meeting. What is the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Councilwoman Valerius will second. Is there any questions, comments, amendments to the motion? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you go ahead and take the roll then on the vote?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Jill Valerius.
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberich.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs.
Yes.
Note Councilmember Richard Best hasn't joined us quite yet.
Okay.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is communications and appearances requests. Presentation from the Rodeo Alaska Executive Director, Frank, and how do you pronounce your last name, sir? Koloski, regarding the 2021 Professional Rodeo Cowboy event at the Palmer Fairgrounds. So if you will want to come up and then press the button so when it turns red, then you're on. Okay.
Thank y'all so very much. I thought I was going to be nervous and like getting on the back of a bull for the first time, but I honestly can sit here in front of y'all today and say I'm super excited about opportunity, and this opportunity is really, really special because it's a part of history. And I know how rich Palmer is with history of pretty much when you talk about Alaska as a whole. And I picked history as our theme simply because it can be made right here in Palmer in 2021. Some may argue that the rodeo in Alaska started in other states around, or other areas around our state earlier, but proof lies that historical documents show that rodeo started in the mid-30s to late 30s. I look at this as an opportunity for all of us, not only within our Palmer community, but throughout the entire state of Alaska, of how awesome it could be to have this kind of history take place right here in our community, where pretty much all can say that it started right here in Palmer. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Frank Koloski with Rodeo Alaska. Myself have been blessed to be a part of rodeo history, as being able to produce rodeos for the past 10 years in the state of Alaska. Rodeo Alaska has been bringing rodeos not only to Palmer but throughout Alaskan communities, primarily to grow our youth programs and put rodeo further on the map of having involvement with Alaska throughout the whole entire country, which brings me here today. We have 6 youth competitors performing on the national level at the National Finals Rodeo this December, something that never has been done in the history of rodeo up here. This will be our 3rd year competing, and each year we're gradually growing larger and larger as we see our youth programs develop and increasingly becoming more developed as far as size as well. This opportunity I wanted to present to y'all today, when we're talking about history, has never ever taken place here. This is the PRCA. This is the top of the line when it comes time for when you're talking rodeo on the highest level. Pro rodeo cowboys from all across the country. The top coming right off of the NFR, that's going to be taking place here as well. The champions will will be crowned, and they'll be looking forward to coming here in the late spring for our Memorial Day event. I feel this would be the epicenter to have this take place. I can't stress enough on the historical event, and because of our rich farming community and our agricultural outreach to everybody within, I think as a whole, it can go without saying in any conversation when we're talking about equestrian, whether it's agricultural, equestrian, everybody really focuses their attention on Palmer, and that's the beauty of why I would like to have this event here in our city here. This event will have a huge impact on all small businesses within Palmer, in Matsu as a whole, our Airbnbs, our local bars and hotels. Largely, you know, everybody will benefit from this, from just kicking off the tourist industry, you know, be it may. I'd like to ask for this time and consideration, if there's any questions or what have you, and I would like to be able to follow up with y'all at another time. I know there's time constraints, but please feel free if there's any questions or concerns you want to have. This event will take place Memorial Day weekend as a 4-day event with a kickoff going into that weekend, and a very grassroots family fun event outdoors that everybody will be able to enjoy. I appreciate all of y'all tonight for letting me come here and talk with y'all. It's really special, and I hope we can make this work together.
Okay, let me see if the council has any questions. Does anyone on the council have any questions or any thoughts?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank
Holmes?
you. Thanks so much for coming tonight.
Thank
This
you.
is really exciting. So I'm assuming maybe next year or when you get a little bit closer, you can come back to us with like a specific request for what you might need from us. Is that
Yes.
okay? Cool.
Okay, yes, Councilwoman Valeria, oh, and John, okay. Councilwoman Valerius, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Since this will be in May next year, I think I'm really excited about it. And I think the nice thing is we have a little bit of time and we'll be able to figure out that we should have a really good handle. Well, I don't know about really good, but hopefully we'll have a better handle on this whole COVID situation too. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and John, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for coming. So is this a one-off, or if you're successful, this is going to be something annually you do or biannually? Have you thought more than just this coming year?
I have thought more than this.
Your microphone, sorry.
Yes, sir. I have thought about this. I've dreamt about this opportunity. This really impacts me and my dream of the legacy of being able to have a part of my own history. But that is an awesome question, and I can't thank you enough for asking that. It's important to me that, yes, saying we've done one, but it would be equally as important to me to be right back here immediately following and getting your feedback. Most importantly, you are who you surround yourself with. And when I'm on this level and this capacity amongst y'all and asking for the kind of support that I am and the faith and behind all of this and the hard work that goes into this, it's going to be equally important to have your feedback and adjustments. The opportunity is there to make this an annual event based off of the structures that I have within already through Rodeo Alaska. And in further time, and I can sidebar some facts of the reason why this opportunity can present itself is better than any other time is just simply been my relationships with other contractors and whatnot that are closer, meaning in Canada. So,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Councilman, Deputy Mayor Combs said something to you about coming back at a future time, but I think we all know, and I know she knows too, regarding putting on an event like this, sometime you need some upfront type things to secure something. And so of the amount that you are requesting from us, say like what amount would you need, say like in 6 weeks or 2 months or a week from now, or you know, I mean, we're looking at like about 8 months out, but I would anticipate there will be some demands on you within probably the 2 or 3 months.
Yes,
Won't there
ma'am.
be?
Yes, ma'am, to solidify in contractual agreements,
Sure.
yes. And the actual ask on this in cooperation support of would be through the agreements that would be structured through for rentals as explained in the packet.
Sure.
My ideal goal for this, as we roll into December, would have the breakout announcement, which would be nationwide on the highest level of all marketing through all of rodeo. That was the goal of going into this. If I have the city support, there's nothing better. And there's more energy from that aspect of that's gonna
Right.
to really encourage us to move forward and get this moving.
Right, but I still don't hear a dollar. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I'm an accountant, so I need a dollar. I see the total amount there, but I mean, I'm talking about, you know, before you do national, you know, announcements and stuff like that, there must be something that you have, you know, and maybe I'm getting too personal. If I am, please excuse me, but like with the fairgrounds or something, I mean, you're gonna need to have some kind of agreement with dollars there. So
yes.
that's what I was trying to get to, and
Oh.
if it's too personal, just say, no, I'll be back or
Oh,
something.
no, ma'am, but if I'm okay by saying approximate, a hard approximate.
Sure.
My upfront is approximately $7,500 in retrospect to that.
Okay.
I'm gonna be through the fairgrounds pushing close to that number, but the
Okay.
upfront to secure my space and allotment of the areas that I'm gonna be requiring, that's a pretty real number there.
Okay, good, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
I appreciate you being
confrontive,
upfront. That's okay.
confrontive sometimes, so anyway, any, other council people have any questions or anything? Oh, I'm sorry, a councilman.
No, I just wanted to really fast say thank you for your presentation, and I really appreciate the enthusiasm that you're bringing to
Thank
Palmer.
you.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, further questions or comments? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you all
very
so much.
for-
Y'all have a blessed night. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for allowing us to be a part and asking for us to. That's exciting. Yeah. Can I ask you where your rodeo career, I'm from Montana, so I've done rodeos for like 50 years, so,
I've been to Butte, Billings,
yeah.
and all around through there. I started in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Started in 95.
Oh, okay, okay. I was just curious. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is reports, city manager's report, sir.
Yes, I'd like to report that I'll be going to a rodeo next May.
You want us to give you a ticket, and when we do your evaluation, is that part of your?
You know, maybe I can be that guy that scoops up behind the cows. So anyways, pretty brief. Thursday and Friday, I'll be participating in Alaska Managers Association. And all next week, I'll be participating and also part of a panel for AML the following week. Part of it, I'm going to be doing it in isolation, but I am available at all times.
Okay.
So that's pretty much my report. We spent a lot of time on the budget and making things work. So that's all I have for this evening.
Okay. Any of the council have any questions or comments? Well, let me be the one to broach the subject then. Do we have $7,500 in our budget of this year that we could put on the agenda for the 24th, since that's gonna be our last meeting, and have that available for him for the
Please.
1st of January? And that would give public notice that way, so we could get the input from the public as well as then the council could weigh in.
Yeah, I think I really could find it from the clerk's budget, yes.
Okay, all right.
We have all that money we didn't spend for Soroma, so.
That's right, the sister city money. The
That's
sister city,
right, all
the
that
13,000
tourism
from the
and-
sister city. We could make it a sister rodeo, right?
Sister Rodeo, I love it. We do have some remaining money under community council grants.
Okay.
So that is positive. We don't have the full 7,500. So I'll just pull some out of his marketing and we will tag team this,
Okay.
help make it happen. And I do believe that is within purview of you being able to expense that. Yeah, right?
If you say so, yes.
Yes.
So mayor will make it happen. I don't believe it needs to come back to council. Unless you want us to,
Oh, okay. All
because
right.
it's within the purview of his expense ability.
Okay, all right.
How?
Does he need one motion or anything like that? No. Do you want to take a head count on the council or no?
So what I'll do is myself and Norma, thank you, Norma. I was just joking, but this is great that you're stepping up. I'll bring back a plan for our next council meeting, and you can give me a thumbs up then.
Okay,
And
okay. All right, yeah.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah, Councilman Best? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I appreciate the concept and what was presented tonight. We do have a process for our community grants, and, I'd like this to go through the normal, review process for us to have the open public discussions about something like this before we give direction like this. This is an expenditure that was not taken into account last budgetary cycle, and I think we have the normal process, and I know it's not an immediate feel-good kind of thing, but I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to kind of slow the roll on this and have that public process.
I think that's Councilman Best, when I first brought it up, that it would be, an AM at our next council meeting, since that's our last council meeting for this year, where we could have citizens input and all the council could weigh in, yes or no, so. But go ahead, Deputy Mayor Thomas.
no, it's okay. I'm fine. I can talk during my council comments about it, so I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. So does anybody have any objection for it coming back as an AM on the 24th then? And then that'll give public notice and you can fill him in on the community grants for whatever amount that is, and then locate the other money. Cause I would be a little bit concerned about pushing it off until next year's budget, because we're so tight. So if we do have unspent monies, that could be spent before the 31st, but go through the public process to be sure, so, okay. All right. Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, do you have your report?
Yes,
Or
thank
a
you.
report?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I do want to let the council know that the CUP hearing appeal that occurred, as you all remember, it was the U-Haul tank, and that decision was rendered, and the hearing officer did support the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision.
Okay.
So that is good news, and it's good news to be done, because it did consume quite a bit of city clerk's hours times alone was over 60 hours. Spanning over election time. So big thank you to Kara, as she got to learn her first hearing process, how to do that. And thank you to community development for all the support they did as well to help keep that facilitated and flowing through, as, like I said, it happened during the election. So much appreciated. It is done.
Okay.
The AML conference is coming up. We did have NEO today and yesterday, and so do want to let know Brian did participate in that. And so I'll let him speak to that if he wants to, but I just want to remind council that conference is next week, the entire week. I did sign up everyone because AML was generous this year and did do a group rate. So log in as you can. As we know that some will be able to come and go as needed. I do want to remind council, I know we've had a lot of emails coming from AML regarding conference. One of the big things that I noticed is we have this extra portal, I think is what they're calling it. You need to go in, set up your profile, set up your portal, put your agenda together, because the links to these sessions will be through that portal.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're planning on attending the business meeting, you need to add it to yours so that you'll then be provided that link. That's the understanding I got from Nils on this process. So lots of new stuff this year going virtual. It's exciting. I think Nils and his team are managing a lot of moving parts right now. So a big thank you to them. I did serve on the resolution committee and nominating committee yesterday and today. So again, there's a lot of moving parts. Even within that committee, we were brainstorming different ways of doing things. So thank you, council, for being patient as things are moving and rocking and rolling. And I'm excited for you guys to participate next week. As good lineup. And the big thing that's consuming a bit of my time is we had charter amendments that were approved by the council. Oh, not by the council, by the electorate. And so there is a Title 29 statute of a lot of the reporting that needs to go to different departments, lieutenant governor, things of that nature, to make sure that we get all of that approved so that we can actually make an amendment to our charter. So working on that, getting through those reportings. Thank you very much. That's it for now.
Anyone have any questions or comments of the city clerk regarding her report? Okay. And now for my report, you have a written report. Our agenda setting meeting for tomorrow, of course, is a holiday, so that's been canceled. Then we tried to set it up for Thursday, but everybody, I think, has got meetings unbelievable on Thursday and Friday of this week, so I don't think we will have an agenda setting meeting. We just added one thing to the agenda tonight, so anyway, yeah, that will be there. I don't know about you, but to be perfectly honest with you, I don't read every word of the AML bulletins that come out 7 times a day.
Somebody's got to do it.
And so anyway, so I won't know which one it was, whether it was 150 or 3 that the resolutions first came out, and it got by both Norm and I, and so that's why we have them tonight. So I don't know if you've had a chance to review them or not. But we won't be voting on them until the business meeting next week. But we wanted to be sure that they were pulled out and given to all of you personally, so you would have a chance to read them. So if you do have some questions or something, if you want to, I don't know for sure. We were talking about at break regarding the resolutions, because quite often on the Friday business meeting, which is not going to be on next Friday, it's going to start Wednesday afternoon and go all through Thursday and through Thursday at 5 o'clock. Lots of times there will be amendments on some of the resolutions, and people will be bringing up resolutions to put on the floor. But Deputy Mayor Combs said she thought that, maybe people weren't going to be, so this isn't the word she used, but it's the word I'm going to use, more scrappy, like they wanted to change the shall to will, and, the 180 days to 75 or something like that, which we've all gotten into that on the business meeting. And so that is there. Also, let's see, did you just, I'm sorry.
Can I speak to the resolution process?
Oh, sure, go ahead. Please do.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So during yesterday's resolution committee meeting, what is a bit of a change this year is, here's one of those things that it was decided at that meeting. Any amendments that you would like, that a jurisdiction municipality would like to see to these resolutions need to be to Nils no later than next Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay, then he will bring forward all of the suggested amendments that the municipalities want to make to the resolutions at the business meeting.
Okay.
And then at that time, they will, at the business meeting, they will actually, not the business meeting, sorry, the business meeting's on Wednesday.
Right.
Thank you. Then we'll be able to vote on that,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So there are some items that they will not be taking amendments on the floor. and he called them the Carryover Resolutions.
Okay.
So those are ones that have carried over from previous years. Nothing new. Any of the new ones, I asked him, Sherry Pierce from the city of Valdez, she's going to be the parliamentarian.
Okay.
And so I'm like, work with your parliamentarian to make sure that the flow happens, that motions could occur, but he really is looking to have everything solidified by next Tuesday.
Okay.
So if any,
So
City
if
of
they can get to
Palmer-
us by Monday then, or
Yes.
send it, yeah.
exactly. So if any of us, City of Palmer, not really me because I don't have a voice, but any of the council that has any suggested amendments needs to get to you, Mayor, or myself, and then we can coordinate how to get that to Nils. Does
Okay.
that work?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, yeah. So does everybody understand that process? Anyone have any questions regarding the resolutions? Either specific resolutions or the procedure? Okay. And then also, let's see, did this get emailed out? Okay, so for those online, we just got the nominations, report, and, you can see, on the right-hand side where, the candidates are listed, those will be, who we will be voting for. And so we would like you to go over those. And if you have any questions, or if there's, say like, for the borough from North, that doesn't even have a name on line 8. What borough is that? It's,
Northwest Arctic Borough.
but then it says Kodiak
It's the,
Island
it's,
Borough. Are they both together?
they have two borough from the word just escaped me, unorganized borough. They are from the unorganized borough, aren't they?
No, I think Northwest Arctic, I think those are both boroughs, but I guess they don't meet the population.
Oh, that's right. There, we
They
added the
don't meet
2
the
seats for
threshold of the
the,
population, like, see,
yeah,
on there, you will see on the Matsu borough, because of our size,
yeah,
Stephanie is running. Now, there could be another candidate there, but it would have to be a member of the Matsu borough.
correct.
And then when you drop down, of course, there's, as Fairbanks, they have an existing member serving. And then you drop down on line 8 and line 9. So, there's some competition there. There's competition in the treasurer position. There's competition, excuse me, in District 2. And that looks like about it. But this may be filling up. So if you know some of these personally, or you want to make a recommendation or something, because we will be voting sometime between 3:30 next Wednesday afternoon, not tomorrow, but a week from then, until 5 o'clock on Thursday. And we only get one vote, and so I'd like to have all of your input, for that, and see how, you wanted to. Yes, Deputy Mayor Comas, do you have a
Thanks.
thought?
I just wanted to share about that Zoom room. So normally we wouldn't be able to all talk about it together outside of a meeting because of the Open Meetings Act. But because we are attending AML, even though it's virtual, we will have an opportunity at 3:30 to go into a breakout room, and whichever city council members are able to log into that Zoom at 3:30 on Wednesday, we can actually discuss these before we vote. So please try and do that.
Yeah, right. So if you can do that, but if you can't, let us know, and then we can go forward from there. And that would be also the, no, we need the resolutions by, any changes in the resolutions by Tuesday, right?
You and I
Lisa.
Monday, so that we can get them to Nils
Monday,
on Tuesday.
okay. Resolutions on Monday, business meeting, voting for officers and directors on Wednesday okay? Anything, and let's see, John, you already said that you're going in, on, starting on Thursday is the mayor's meeting, and, in the past, has been our practice, we have always allowed the deputy mayor to attend if they wanted to, and so I've extended that invitation to Sabrina, and she will. And that'll be good because on Thursday, our mayor's meeting starts at 9, which I'll be able to contact in, but then at 10, or a few minutes before 10, I have a 911 task force meeting, governor's task force meeting, and then later that day at 1 o'clock, I have another one. And so both of those will probably take up 4 or 5 hours of my day that day, and so Deputy Mayor Combs will be there. On Friday, I think both of us will be there, but again, I don't know, maybe not for every minute, but depending. Sometimes they get in and they're complaining about, 72 years ago when something happened, and you're like, oh, I could be doing something else. So anyway, so that's the plan right now for Alaska Municipal League. So does anybody have any questions or thoughts or any input regarding that? Okay. And let's see, I think then that's all of my mayor's report. Any questions, comments regarding the mayor's report? We have a, go ahead, Mike, is that you?
Yes, that's me, Madam Mayor. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's
Sorry.
fine, go ahead.
I'm just saying. Okay, thank you. Uh, I presented at the AML meeting elected officials this morning and this afternoon
Good.
through Zoom,
Uh-huh.
which was the first time I ever made a Zoom presentation to, I think, about 70 individuals. I think it went well, and hopefully the information they received was helpful. I taught along with Bill Dolan and the Fairbanks spokesperson, Keith and Burrow attorney up there, and I had a good time doing it. I was a little bit weary at first because we usually do it in person, and it's much more interactive, and you get a good connection with the individual seeking information. But I thought it went pretty well, so I think they know doing a pretty good job in the COVID era to get information out and present important information to the current and new municipal officials. So I appreciated the opportunity to do that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And tomorrow afternoon, there were, right just at 5 o'clock, there will be a ribbon cutting for the new dining hall for Matanuska Brewing. And so I will be attending that. I know the clerk did send out an invite for everybody. So, and of course, we're going to be limited to 3 people, but so I don't know if any of you responded. And on my ride along with the police department was scheduled, and then because of additional concerns, it was canceled. I had done one a few years ago, but I look forward to doing one again with them. But so I guess that will be something else that'll be coming up at some time in the future, whenever they feel comfortable regarding sending out that invitation again. So, and I think that's all of my report, unless somebody else has something else. Okay. And then, Mike, do you have further attorney's report, sir?
No, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry I interrupted your report.
That's okay. Yeah.
About my report.
Yeah, no problem. We were on AML, so it was appropriate. So, yeah, no problem at all. Anyone have any questions, comments to the attorney regarding his report or any other item? Okay. So the next item on our agenda is audience participation. Anyone in the audience is welcome to address the council. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing a group, And it can be anything that's on the agenda or just something you want to bring to the attention of the council. So audience participation is now open, and you just come up and press the little button so red goes on and.
Hello, Madam Mayor,
Hi.
council members, folks on the computer, virtual. Hi, guys. My name is Julie Esty, and I work for Matanuska Electric Association, and I am here because it's capital credit time.
Woo!
Yay! So, as
Our
a
rodeo
member
money?
of cooperative, one of the benefits of being a nonprofit is that any money that we have left over at the end of the year, after we've taken in revenues and paid all of our expenses, is called margins. Those margins then get reinvested, get allocated to each of our members based on the amount of electricity that they use, and then get reinvested in the cooperative. And then a few decades later, you get those paid out. So you guys have from 1987. What were you all doing in 1987? Don't tell me.
I was 3.
I don't know if I want to know. Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. But we have a check for $6,976. And so there's the fancy check, and then there's the check on the back. And so you can only cash one of them. So I want you guys to know that. The other great thing about being a cooperative is that we are led by the communities that we serve. And so this upcoming election, the Matanuska district, of which Palmer is a part, your seat is up for election. Mark Masteller currently holds the seat, and it's a 4-year term. And so there'll be a call for candidates going out in December. So just wanted to let the council know about that. And
I'm sorry, who did you say is holding the seat?
currently, Mark Masteller
Oh, yes.
holds that
Okay,
seat.
Thank you. Mhm.
And has for the last 4 years. So just wanted to let folks know about that opportunity while I was here.
Okay. All right.
So who wants the check? All right.
Oh, sure.
Yay!
Oh, okay.
Hey, we can Facebook, good, listen.
Okay. John, you want to come?
Sure, I'm out.
Sure.
I'll stand in the middle.
All right.
Thorn in the middle.
I still smile on you. You're doing great, that's right. Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, there's that 7,500 we need. Almost.
That's right. Almost enough for
Good
the
timing,
rodeo.
MEA.
Maybe they can apply for that upmanship that you guys money, the foundation money that MEA has to round it up to 7,500 or something. Okay. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address the council and give us money? But even if you don't have money to give us, we'll let you come and talk to us. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, I will close audience participation. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing. Our first public hearing is on ordinance 20-014, amending Palmer Municipal Code Section 18.27.020, voting methods relating to absentee voting by mail. And so does anybody want a staff report before we go into the public hearing? Okay, I don't see one. Yes, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is coming forward to the council now because the impacts of some of these changes impacts my ability for the entire year of 2021 and beginning to advertise for the absentee by mail application process. And so I do want to let the council know that while some of these amendments are on here, that this doesn't make it absolute final in what else we can discuss about absentee by mail. And it is the plan that we'll have a committee of the whole in January, like we did in 2020, to talk about what does 2021 look like, what amendments, what kind of potential things can we do, how did it go for 2020, things like that. So ordinance 2014 is addressing two things that I am requesting the council to please approve so that I can begin advertising and getting the application out, which the deadline is December 31st of this year for our 2021. And that is first section, so I'm on page 47 of the packet, and this is section 3 of the ordinance, Palmer Municipal Code reference 18.27.020. And it is changing the deadline of when an application is to be submitted and adding in language and no later than 4 p.m. Alaska Standard Time, and that an application must be submitted 11 calendar days before an election. So the 4 p.m. is standard deadline time that we have provided throughout our election code of Title 18. That's when candidate packets are due. That's when withdrawal letters are due. 4 p.m., that's when write-in candidates must put in. And the reason that 4 p.m. is a good time for us is because that gives staff that extra hour before end of day to get what needs processed. So this falls in line with 4 p.m. time with other deadlines we have within the code. And then the 11 calendar days falls in line with the Alaska statute, their deadline, kind of plus 1 day. The Alaska statute is 10 calendar days, but that's on a Saturday. So I'm asking council to please push that up 1 day so that it's a Friday when we're actually open. Because during this time, the Division of Election is open on a Saturday, processing their early voting and things like that, where we are not. And so that is why I'm asking for the 11 calendar days. And the reason I'm asking for the difference between the 7 to 11 is because of processing time. One matches Alaska statute, and so it's a bit more uniform with what they're used to with the state ballot. And two, it gives us more time to be able to get things processed and moved ballots out, so to the citizens. And then just a line ahead of that, I do want to know that it says to be mailed to the voter to be mailed to the voter is stricken because it's redundant language. And so there are some things that are in here that also are stricken or changed because it's redundancy. It's just cleaning up, providing good, clean, understandable language for the general public. Under B of this same section, we are adding in some of the application requirements. The applicant's first and last name was not part of the requirement on the application. And we've always been able to, people have provided it, but this is something that we're now putting as a mandatory requirement because legibility sometimes is very difficult to try and figure out just by an identifier or by an address. So thank you, Mayor, for pointing that one out.
Okay.
Got that in there. And moving on here, C, again, some cleaning up of language. The official ballot is not federally recognized as formal language that needs to be on our envelopes. So official election mail is, and that's straight out of the United States Postal Service requirements for our ballot envelopes. And D, this one I'm asking the council, this is now moving on to the second line of D, the voted ballot shall then be placed in the secrecy sleeve is the way the language used to read, and I'm asking the council to please strike out shall and replace it with should. I personally don't want to see a ballot disqualified or not counted just because someone forgot to put it in the secrecy sleeve. That's a protection of their right that no one knows how they voted. But to me, to use that as a way of not counting their ballot, I struggle with that. Because the goal is to count the ballot as the best that we can, right? So a disqualification based on not using a secrecy sleeve is something I am asking council to please support me on and getting that removed, but I will roll with whatever. I do want to let you know, I looked at, I think Houston is in the same language we are. Theirs says shall, and she'll be bringing that forward to change it to should as well. And if I remember right, I'm not totally remembering right. I think Wasilla's does not have this language. So we're kind of also being uniformed citywide across the valley. So, and then striking out that the return envelope and have it witnessed in the presence of one of the following authorized officials just rewording that language to be a little bit more clarified here, and removing under D1 U.S. Postmaster, authorized postal clerk, because they do not provide that service any longer.
Okay.
So just keeping up with what current ability is. And then number 2, again, cleaning up redundancy language of may witness the voter signature, because that's what's commented up above. The E here, after witness the absentee by mail voter signature, the official or witness shall return voted ballot to the voter who shall mail or otherwise deliver the ballot. It's just cleaning up language, and it's part of the procedure that we already follow. And then the ballot to an election official or the clerk. I'm asking for that to be added in because it follows what current procedure is. As it currently reads, they have to return it to me, but we have, for as long as I've been here, and as long as the other clerks in the valley can remember, we've always allowed them to drop it off at the precinct or the polls.
Where they go.
Early voting, yeah. So this puts the language in there that supports current practice, that someone can drop it off at early voting or at the poll place. So we don't, a precinct official, that's not what we call them. That's not what's in the definition. We call them election officials. And so moving on here to, and the reason, so a election official shall deliver the voted absentee. And some of the reason why I'm taking out the word the voted is because they can return an unvoted absentee ballot, and it's called surrendering it. And then vote a regular precinct poll ballot, or a poll ballot, and we call that a regular ballot, at the polling place precinct. So I wanted to kind of clean up the code a little to, again, help support what current practice is. If you say a voted ballot, that implies that we don't allow them to surrender it, and we absolutely do.
Okay. Okay.
We don't have an election board. They're called election officials. That
Okay.
is in F. And then in D, it goes back to the, we don't have an election board, and someone can submit it and surrendered, and don't necessarily have to have it in the ballot envelope and return envelope. So supporting current process, giving the voter, this is really opening up more flexibility for the voter to be able to get the ballot processed how they want to get it processed. So, or how we have seen them doing that. So that is the ordinance amendments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the clerk before I open the public hearing? Yes, Councilman Daniel.
I have a question about section D2. Do you have to provide a reason, like, so to get that witness, if the authorized official is not reasonably available, do you have to say, I wasn't able to reach someone for this reason, and could that potentially discount your ballot? Like, and then if not, the follow-up question would be, I guess, is D1 necessary? So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Your first question, no. A voter does not have to provide.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes. Go ahead, sir.
We're still in the report. We haven't opened it for public comment, and then it will be time for us to have questions.
No, this is the time to question the staff.
Thought this was time to ask questions, because we're having a staff report now. So won't be a time for making any motions, any motions or anything like that. Yeah, we can't make any motions or suggested changes, but you can take and ask for questions. So go ahead.
Right, so Council Member Daniels is asking myself, City Clerk, clarification on my staff report. And the clarification first question was, do you have to show what proof as to the reasonable sought after ability to catch, or number one, witnessing? No, we don't ask that. We provide these as options. They're listed out as 1 and 2 because that's how they're listed out. But when we get the ballot in, if it's witnessed, the signature is witnessed, then it's accepted. whether it was done by a notary, done by an election official, things of that. The important point is that it's done by someone. The signature is witnessed. It's witnessed by someone over 18. I think that, so going on to your second question, is why it's separated out. Because number one, kind of already defines that limit of an 18-year-old. So number two helps to identify and clarify that if it's not number one, it can be someone else, but it must be someone of 18 years of age. So that, honestly, I'm taking this guess on that, and why that's split out like that. But that's the identifying marker that I see in here as I read this part of the code. So could they be combined? They could, with some additional language change, which we can definitely do next year, because that wouldn't impact my application. So I could still meet my application deadline and needs for that. But it's okay the way it is because of how the definition is defined between the two.
Okay. Alrighty, so I will go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 20-014. And during this time, anyone is welcome to address the council, but they are to address the council only regarding this ordinance. And it is 3 minutes if you're representing yourself and 5 minutes if you're representing a group. So the public hearing is now open and anyone's welcome to address the council.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mike Malevsky, I live at 325 East Fireweed Avenue here in beautiful downtown Palmer. There's an interesting collection of features that around an absentee ballot. And I guess my interest as I've been listening to it, both the last time it came up and now, is to raise the question of our intention in order to make the process work smoothly for people. And I must commend the clerk, because what she has pointed to is the importance of whatever is done here is to reflect the reality of what's been happening that works and to smooth the process. I think raising the question about this particular listing is worthwhile, because many people, when they look at any of the ordinances that are provided, would like them to be quite understandable. And I still have, I think I lean personally, as I've listened to the discussion, to say the implication starting out is that you're going to have to go to a notary. But the reference that I use when I think about this is, as many of us know, a PFD check. So we fill out an application for the PFD. So it's to be witnessed. But there is none of all of the detail of who can do that. It says a witness, identify yourself, state clearly that you are who you are, etc. And the only time that would come up, and I guess this is where I think about it, I think in two parts. One, the processing. You look through the PFD applications, you have a witness. Cool, it's done. Should something come up as a question about that particular application, then by golly, that witness better be someone who is who they say they are. But I would think the same thing applies to this voting process. And I would encourage people to think about the further revision, that what would make it clear so that it doesn't come up as saying, oh, I read notary, because many people don't read all the way down the list of things. And they may be thinking, oh, I've got to find a notary. Oh, well, you really don't have to do it. But thank you for listening.
Anyone else that would like to address the council? Okay, seeing no one come forth, anyone from the council have any objections to me closing the public hearing? Okay, public hearing is now closed on ordinance number 20-014. What is the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, It's been moved to approve. Councilwoman Valerius is second. Okay, any questions, comments, amendments to the motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Deputy Mayor?
I'd like to offer an amendment by striking D1 from the,
Okay, which page are you on?
on page 48.
On 48?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I'd move to strike D1 and just have a witness who is at least 18 years of age for the clarity of this.
Okay. Okay. Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded. So you want to strike where it says a notary and then all the way to or? And then number 2 would be made number 1?
Correct, and it would just need to say one witness who is at least 18 years of age.
Okay, all righty. Discussion on the amendment. Madam Clerk, do you see what she is doing? You understand the amendment?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
if I may
Sure.
clarify that amendment, what I heard was striking 1,
Mm-hmm.
but then she also added, Deputy Mayor Combs also added, and this is my clarifying question, are we adding the striking of if an authorized official is not reasonably accessible? So it's only to say one witness who is at least 18 years of age, period? Or does that read exactly as presented tonight?
I'm sorry to clarify, I would just like it to say one witness who is at least 18 years of age, period.
That is what I heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So does everyone understand that? So all of 1 would be struck, and then on number 2 would be if an authorized official is not reasonably accessible. Now, Madam Clerk, for clarity, would number 2 become number 1, or will you just add it into the section there? How do you anticipate describing that? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How I would anticipate this amendment working is the added language here of in the presence of either of the following who shall attest to the voter's signature by signing the certification would be reworded slightly
Right.
to
That needs
support,
to take it out.
yeah, that would support that removing the numbers altogether,
Mm-hmm.
and that becomes just the clear sentence of in the presence of who shall attest to the voter's signature by signing the certification, one witness who is at least 18 years of age or something. I mean, obviously it'll be worded a little better, but
Right,
that's
right,
the plan.
yeah.
So 1 and 2 truly actually will go away.
Either of the following will probably have to be removed out of there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that it would be the presence of one witness who is at least 18 years of age.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'd like to keep the language in there remaining who shall attest to the voter's signature by signing the certification, because
Right.
that's important, knowing that that witness signature's purpose is attesting to that person's signature.
Right.
And that also supports the attestation that they're signing on the envelope.
Would it be easier for me to amend my amendment or restate my amendment?
No,
I think I'll go ahead unless you want to.
No, you go ahead.
I'll go ahead. So for the amendment, we're on page 48. In D, where the part is underlined, we are going to take out of either the following. So it would read, in the presence who shall attest to the voter's signature by signing the certification, and it would be one witness who is at least 18 years of age. All the rest of the wording would be removed. Now, is that where we are at? Okay. Okay, further discussion on the amendment? Okay,
Madam Mayor.
yes, Councilman Best, go ahead.
When we're talking about the adjustments that have been presented, I get the idea of trying to keep the language simplified and clear and allow for reasonable accessibility for folks. But there's also a reasonability of protection and integrity of the ballots themselves. and the process. As was stated, if we just simply put in there somebody of the age of 18, that reasonably accessible aspect of the authorized official is taken out of the process. And I think that we all have heard folks from many different spectrums of the political world have talked about the security of our ballots. And with this language that we're putting in there right now and we're taking out, we're removing one more layer of surety that each voter has in the integrity of the ballot process. I understand trying to be flexible and trying to really enfranchise everybody to make sure that nobody is being disenfranchised. But when we start making substantial changes to the voting process, I have a problem with us making these changes without the voters approving the changes. So for much of the rest of these, and I'll speak to just this a minute right here. So I'll just hold it right there. Thank you.
Okay, okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I would just argue that it's not removing a layer because it was already an option. All someone had to do is read number 2 and say, oh, I don't need to get a notary. I'm just going to have my husband, my roommate, I'm going to have them sign it because going to a notary costs money, it takes time, and it was already an option before, so it's just making it easier. I would love to see the numbers on how many people actually took their ballot to a notary rather than just have their spouse or whoever sign it, because I'm going to guess that it's pretty low. That's my justification for making the amendment.
And I hope this is germane, pertains enough to the amendment that I could say this. You know, the clerk had brought up, I think, under her report that in January, was it you were gonna wanna start some code changes and things, and there are a number of other things in the election that, and so whether we would take these changes or similar ones to a vote of the people, that might be the discussion at that time. But Councilman Best, because I think that's where you were sort of going, was it? That you felt that maybe these changes were too much and that they should go to a vote of the people? Is that where I heard your opposition to this amendment?
Madam Mayor, all of my arguments for this particular amendment to stand as it is.
Okay.
I think that is an additional conversation as we go through this process. Thank you.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, any further questions, comment? Yes, Councilwoman Valerius?
Madam Mayor, thank you. I guess I would agree with Deputy Mayor Combs. The witness is an option, so I don't think we're fundamentally changing anything. I mean, I can tell you myself, the thought of like trying to sign in a republic, or like one of my employees signed my ballot. Like that's, to me, that is, and I have a vehicle and work downtown and all of those things, but to be able to go and do that, when I think about other people who might not have access to a vehicle, you know, like I mean, as it's an option that you just need a witness, I think keeping the notary public in there, I think is unrealistic, and especially going forward. I mean, with COVID, that's like made it just shy of impossible. So I'm in agreement with the change as stated. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Any further comments, questions, or an amendment to the amendment?
Madam Mayor, I have a question of the attorney. Oh, sorry.
Who?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is Councilwoman Berber.
Uh-huh, go ahead.
I would like to propose a change to the amendment in which we can leave in number one and all those choices to be able to have somebody witness your ballot, but just strike the line if an authorized official is not reasonably accessible from line number two, and just have it read, or one witness who is at least 18 years of age.
Okay. So and is there a second to that amendment? Okay, Councilwoman Valerius seconds. So now, Councilwoman Burberg, let me read this to be sure. So on the last two lines of D, you would not make any changes. And in one, you would not make any changes. And in two, you would just remove if an authorized official is not reasonably accessible. Did I interpret your amendment correctly?
Yes, Madam Mayor, except for where in number one, where it's already been stricken by the city clerk.
Right, yeah. Okay. Already, discussion on that amendment.
Madam Mayor.
Uh-huh, Councilman Best, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the amendment to the amendment. My question to the attorney is, in line two, we kind of define, or we ask of what is an authorized official, and I think, number one kind of defines what we're authorizing, as or defining it as an authorized official. But my question to you is, what is reasonably accessible?
Lots of lawsuits on that, I'm sure.
Outside the North focus on these, they clearly not reasonably accessible. So it's going to be a question of fact based on the totality of the circumstances and how easily one can get by weekends, these sorts of things. And then as these questions evolve, we look at some of these provisions in our codes, and it's not just the city farmers code, it's other codes for local governments throughout the state. They really have a lot of language in there. It may have been good a number of years ago, but it's not in keeping with the current technology available and current thought. And this idea is number one, and then the public, the commission's military officer, and you get the J-Buck to define that, and that's by some people around Palmer that are willing to sign your ballot. I don't know that judges would be reasonably accessible and justice. I don't know that might be the justice of the Supreme Court, yes. And magistrate, we do have one in Palmer, a clerk of the court, it might be accessible. Duly appointed voter registrar, probably accessible. An election official, as defined in 305-010, probably accessible. But then to tie this other witness as someone, if this grouping of folks isn't reasonably accessible, to me, I think, number one, this group of individuals that may not be reasonably accessible. So the idea is that we want to ensure that a ballot is being presented by a person who someone else is basically swearing that this is the actual person voting, who's a qualified voter, then number two might get there. But the number one, when we sort of parse through it, a lot of those individuals mentioned are probably not reasonably accessible and practical matter. That's just off the top of my head. That's not on that.
Madam Mayor.
let me just see, Councilman Best, did that address your question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes and no. I think the attorney kind of expresses that many of those that we are indicating as being available to sign this might not necessarily kind of fit the definition of reasonably accessible. And I appreciate council for allowing this more robust discussion about this. I'm just leery of us kind of adjusting how we vote. I appreciate Council Deputy Mayor Combs and the amendment that has been put in there. I know that we're all trying to make it so that everybody can participate, that is legally allowed to vote. And I'm not completely against either of these adjustments. I'm just very leery. I want to make sure that this does follow the state constitution and that everything is more clear for everybody. And I don't necessarily know if we just take out if an authorized official is not reasonably accessible. I think that gets to the intent of things, but I'm kind of indifferent, so I appreciate the time.
Deputy Mayor Combs?
Thank you. I just think, this year was radically different than most years as far as absentees ballots that were requested. Any other given year, someone is requesting an absentee ballot because they're not going to be around the polls. If they're not going to be around the polls, they're also probably not going to be around a notary public, a commissioned military officer, etc. I just want to make this as easy as possible for people that are just trying to vote. So taking out the arbitrary language of a reasonably accessible, which can be interpreted many different ways, I think is definitely a positive move. Thank you.
Further discussion, the amendment before us right now that we're discussing is on number 2, to remove if and through the word accessible. That's the amendment that's on the floor, and that's where our discussion needs to take place. Anyone else want to discuss anything else before I have the clerk call the roll for that amendment? Okay, I don't see or hear anyone. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll for just removing, there's 2, 4, 6, 8 words, I guess.
Okay, yes,
Right.
and adding in number 1.
Well, we haven't removed number 1.
This
We
is-
have the amendment on the floor to remove number 1, but that has not been voted on, so number 1 is still in here.
Right.
Yeah, so all this second amendment is to take out if an unauthorized official is not reasonably accessible.
Okay.
That's what this amendment is. Yeah, okay.
So Councilmember Jill Valerius, and that was started by, or motioned by Julie Berberick. I did not get a second for this. I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Valerius. I
Thank you
thought
very
seconded
much.
it. Yeah.
So we
she's
have a first
shaking
and a
her head
second.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Councilmember Jill Valerius,
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Richard Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberick,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs,
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, so now that is stricken. Now we have before us the original amendment, which would take out on D, the last section of that, of either of the following, and remove all of number 1. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the amendment that is before you at this time.
Yeah.
Questions, comments, or even another amendment before we proceed to vote? Okay, I don't see or hear anyone. Excuse me, would you go ahead and call the roll for that?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Jill Valerius,
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Richard Best,
No.
Councilmember Julie Burbrick,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs,
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 yes, 1 no.
Okay. We now are back on the main motion to adopt ordinance 20-014 as amended. Any further amendments or any further discussion? Councilwoman Valerius? Okay.
Madam Mayor,
I'll-
I just have a question under B, on the bottom of page 47. There's 1, 2, 3, and then at the top of the next page on 48, it says 2, 3. So should that just be, should that be 4, 5?
I think so. Yes, yes.
So that's just, I think, clerical, so.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Councilman Best, did you have a comment?
The councilwoman stole my thunder on that one. I would actually like to ask another question as it pertains to under 1827-020, the absentee voting. A little more clarity. It really, I'm not seeing the necessity of striking the language no less than 7, and now it's 11 calendar days. Could you just expand upon the rationale for that change?
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the state of Alaska, it helps kind of mirror the state of Alaska's current language, and that is that they are 10 calendar days, but that falls on a Saturday. And so the clerk's office isn't open on a Saturday to process, so I'm asking that it be a Friday on a day that we actually are open. And the time frame is also clarified specifically in the other city codes and also Alaska statutes. So we're putting in that time frame as well. It provides us as staff the ability to process these in a more timely fashion to be able to get them out, get them in the hands of voters. Some of the ballots that were processed on that Wednesday of the deadline, I did get feedback. While some of the ballots were being processed overnight, the majority of them were. There were a few that got processed in that last block that tended to be a little slower. And that adds the stress to our voters when they're getting their ballots so close to the election day. And it also doesn't allow that if there is something that happens that we're going to need to surrender their first ballot and allow for a reissue, it's not really allowing for that time to occur. And so giving us the extra couple of days supports the voter to be able to have the opportunity to get their ballot, get the time if something happens, they accidentally mismark it, they're not able to go to the precinct to fix it, they contact us and we're able to rectify that issue. So it helps support the voter. It also does very much help support our staff in being able to get things processed and, in a timely fashion as well.
Okay. Does that answer your questions, or do you have follow-up?
Well, the clerk is always very plentiful in her explanations, and I appreciate that. My question kind of leans more to the language that was added and the language that was stricken, where on one it's no later than, and the language that was stricken was no less than. And, the 7 days and 11 calendar days, and I'm just, with it, a calendar constantly changing and, something that happens to land on a Friday, how is this a little more clear and precise and with added flexibility as well?
Well, our election is always the first Tuesday of October. That's set unless we would change it, you know, when we are looking at, so I think that was the reason, since that is a set time, then we wouldn't need to worry about it coming in on Saturday and Sunday with the change from the 7 to the 11 days. Does that address your concern, Councilman Best, or did you want the clerk to prolificate on that?
No, Madam Mayor, I think, you know, it's just kind of a play on words and trying to, just track along. I think it's fairly clear, it just seems a little wonky, so I appreciate the clerk's effort in this.
Okay, okay. It might be something when we do, you know, look at code changes and things like that for elections in the early part of 2021. That may be something we may want to revisit after we've had a chance. The clerk's busy reading it to herself here for a few minutes.
I know, I'm trying to think. I think I understand what he's asking when he mentioned.
You want to turn your mic on?
Thank
Thank
you. I think I understand what he's mentioning when he asked about, when he had mentioned that clunky, as it reads with trying to figure out the add and the takeaway. The wonderful thing about code is that it isn't static. Obviously, we can make changes here in January. So if this gets approved tonight, we can come back, address, and massage this language more to help provide clarification and, you know, make sure that it reads well.
Okay. All right, from any of the rest of the council, any questions, comments, or amendments? Okay, Madam Clerk, I believe we are ready to vote on ordinance 20-014 as amended.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Jill Valerius?
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Richard Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs?
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. The next public hearing we have is resolution number 20-028, authorizing the city manager to apply for both a loan and grant from the United States of America, acting through the Department of Agricultural Rural Utilities Service to finance improvements to the city's wastewater treatment plant in an aggregate amount not to exceed $8 million. Does anyone want to have a staff report
Yes,
before I
please.
open the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, can we have a staff report? Mr. Musi, please.
Yes, ma'am. So we are asking to apply for a grant because of the 2016 federal consent decree, which required us to install 2 secondary clarifiers. We've used USDA funding program previously on phase 1 of the wastewater treatment. We are applying again for not to exceed $8 million. It is our hope and intention it'll be significantly less than that. It is a grant and loan which we're required to do. If it is accepted, which we believe it will be, approval to accept, we'll have to come back to city council. So the great thing about this is that number one, we've done it before. Number two, there's plenty of money that flows down to the state of Alaska that we would qualify for that. And the loan terms are incredible, 2%, and I believe it could be spread out as much as 4 decades. And our goal is to get the job done and to keep the cost as low as possible, since we are all users. We don't want to charge a nickel more than we have to, so we're working real hard to do that, but you know, the agreement in 2016 requires us to move forward. And once again, the residents will probably, once this is done, will not notice, but it does have, is a requirement, but does have an impact to our salmon population in making sure that we're doing our very best to be able to continue to have that industry and that personal use. So it is going to lead to a positive thing.
Okay, does that address your question? Anyone else want anything from the staff before I open the public hearing? Okay, so with that, I will open the public hearing on resolution 20-028. And at this time, anyone can address the council on this specific resolution. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing a group. Okay, council, I don't see anyone coming forth, so I'm gonna close the public hearing. And what is the wishes of the council regarding resolution 20-028?
Madam Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, is there no okay, Councilwoman Valerius had her hand up, Councilwoman Berberick, I think, was trying to say something, maybe, a second, I don't know.
I heard Berberick.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, discussion, amendments to the motion. The motion is to approve resolution 20-028. Okay, so Madam Clerk, would you take the roll in, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Joe Valerius.
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Richard Best.
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberick.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs.
Yes.
Mayor Eden DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next public hearing we have is on resolution 20-029, authorizing the sale of 12.65 acre parcel of land located at 2390 South Glen Highway to Alaska Frontier Fabrication LLC in the amount of $408,300 in accordance with Palmer Municipal Code Section 3.20.080M. Does council want a staff report before I open the public hearing? Okay, I guess not. So I'll open the public hearing on resolution 20-029. Anyone can address the council on this resolution? 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing the group. I'm sure you probably have it memorized too. By this time, you've only heard it 7 times tonight. Well, go ahead and push the button, sir.
Hi, Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Seth Grove, and I'm here on behalf of Alaska Frontier Fabrication LLC, and I'm here to make the case for accepting the resolution number 20-029, authorizing the sale of the 12.65 acres off the Glen Highway known as the church property to Alaska Frontier Fabrication LLC. So who is Alaska Frontier Fabrication? We are a locally owned and operated full-service marine dealership and fabrication shop. We're a service-disabled, veteran-owned business, and we've served the Valley for 9 years, and we are the premier marine dealership and service center in the Mat-Su Valley. We are the sole North River Boats dealer serving South Central and the interior, and even the North Slope. And we carry and service other top-tier brands in the industry like Mercury, Yamaha, All-Weld, F&M, and so on. Our customers come from all over the state, from as far north as Barrow and all the way down to Homer. And we are looking to grow our business, and we feel strongly that the city of Palmer and the church property is well suited for our needs. And that the sale of the church property to Alaska Frontier Fabrication will bring value to the city of Palmer for years to come. So our hope is to bring value to the Palmer area through economic growth and highway frontage property improvements. In the 9 years we've been in the Valley, we have seen a 10-fold increase in revenue. And that growth has allowed us to hire skilled workers with a competitive wage. We currently hire 6 full-time skilled labor employees, plans to expand and hire more employees for long-term positions. We also plan to open a new showroom and service center. And we have plans to expand our fabrication capabilities into manufacturing using new technology and equipment, which will require hiring more skilled workforce. So our customers come from all over the state, and they come to us because they know we'll get quality service and from local knowledgeable staff. The central location of the church property is ideally suited for our customers who often travel from Anchorage and Fairbanks and all around the state. And we believe that moving our business to this property will bring long-term value to the city of Palmer. And additionally, we will be utilizing the man-made water reservoir that is on site to run and test customers' boats, which will help relieve congestion at local boat launches. And then reduce environmental impact of boat owners taking their boats to the lakes to test them and stuff. So to summarize, the sale of the church property to Alaska Frontier Fabrication will bring long-term value to the city of Palmer, bring good paying jobs to the area, provide beautification of highway frontage property through property improvements and upkeep, and increase commerce to the city of Palmer. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions.
No, I don't think so. Maybe when we get into discussion, but we're fine for now. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Have that for the record.
Yeah, I have one actually.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to address the council on this public hearing?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I did receive written testimony tonight. When it's appropriate, may I read that into the record?
Okay. I don't see anybody else, so yes, go ahead. And you might tell everyone where that is.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I did receive written testimony today that someone had requested for me to read into the record. It was emailed to the council this evening as part of the packet. It is in that PDF that I sent you. It is the fourth kind of page in, right before the Palmer Municipal Code language that was included in this as well. And this is testimony from Joseph Reese. I also want to let everyone know that there are some available in the back of the room for anyone who is in the audience who would like to see what I am reading into the record. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. My name is Joseph Reese. I am a lawyer with Davis Wright Tremaine LLP in Anchorage, representing Anchorage Sand and Gravel with respect to the proposed sale of a 12.65 acre parcel of land located at 2390 South Glen Highway to Alaska Frontier Fabrication LLC under consideration as proposed Resolution 20-029. Anchorage Sand and Gravel respectfully requests that the City Council table the proposed resolution for a period of time to allow consideration of two important points. First, we believe that the proposed sale is not permitted under the current city code. Section 3.20.080 of the Palmer Municipal Code governs the sale or disposition of property by the city. Section K provides that property that begin quote, also another quote, shall be sold to the highest responsible bidder at a public sale, end quote, unless, quote, otherwise provided in this chapter, end quote, period. The proposed resolution relies on the exception in section M for a sale at fair market value. The problem is that this exception is available only if there has first been a public sale that does not result in a bid equal to or greater than the fair market value and cost of sale. See the highlighted portion of section M below. M. Fair market value, real property shall be sold for less than the fair market value. Begin highlight. If a public sale does not result in a bid equal to or greater than the fair market value and costs of sale, the council may sell the real property at a private sale or may conduct other public sale. End highlight. In the event of an authorized private sale or another public sale, the council may approve the sale of the property at the highest price which may be obtained. Quote, fair market value, end quote, as used in this subsection means the price determined in terms of money at which the real property is appraised by a qualified appraiser or the value assessed by the borough tax assessor. That is the end of the quote from the Palmer Municipal Code in this letter. Continuing on. Second, the purpose of the code requirements is for the city of Palmer to obtain the highest price which may be obtained. Anchorage Sand and Gravel made an offer to purchase the property for $525,000, substantially more than the proposed private sale. The proposed sale is obviously not, quote, the highest price which may be obtained, end quote. The City Council has a duty to obtain the best price possible when it disposes of public assets and has a duty to follow the procedures required by the Palmer Municipal Code. We therefore suggest that the best course of action today is to table the resolution while these issues are sorted out. End of letter.
Okay. Ready, council? I don't see anyone else coming forth to testify, so I'm going to close the public hearing on Resolution 20-029. What is the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Valerius. Okay, discussion, comments?
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
has our attorney had an opportunity to look this over, and does he have any recommendations?
I'm sure that he did. Mike, did you hear the question?
Could you repeat it, please?
Yes, I was just asking if you had an opportunity to look this over and if you have any recommendations.
I want to point out a couple of things. In reference to the common municipal code section 3.20.0.080N, as I understand it, was included in the packet materials to address the fair market value aspect of the property disposal. And if you look at the totality of the packet, and you read the resolution, it cites some additional provisions of the code, which states that the city can sell or dispose of any real property, including property held for public use, when in the judgment of the city council is no longer required for a municipal purpose. And again, the subsection 080M is quoted on the fair market value piece. So I think that when you look at the provisions in the code, you need to look at the totality of the code and how it operates. Now, having said that, the other part of it is the city council has discretion on the disposition of property, and it's not just the highest price, but there's other considerations that may enter into the picture as far as what's in the best interest of the city in the disposal of property. Now, having said that, if there are questions about the process or about sending this back to take a closer look at it, that's another option that the city council has, because the property is required to be approved by the city council. So those are sort of the thinking that exists with respect to this transaction. So I think this is a deal what the council says, significant on some of these issues.
Okay, so that answer your question, or do you have follow-up? Okay, alrighty. Other comments from the council?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Best.
So, I mean, as I read through the code, it's talking about the sale and disposition of real property. I'm not an attorney, but there are a whole lot of mays and shalls involved in this. I think there's a lot of flexibility. My concern is more about the letter authorizing the sale of this without council actually giving the approval, and or was it conveyed to the purchasers that all this was subject to the council approval? Because as I read through the letter indicating the sale that's in our packet, it kind of looks pretty final, and there is some language in there that says that the below signatures are from the authorized individuals that have the authority on this, and I believe that that hadn't been given by council as of yet.
Okay, John, you have some comments?
Yes, that is a very good question. The parties and myself have stated in full agreement that the decision to sell the property rests with the city council. The agreement was developed and reviewed and signed off by Mr. Gaddy with the full understanding that the decision was going to be laying at the feet or on the table of the city council to make the decision. It was my recommendation to bring this to the city council for consideration of this. So, and there was some discussion with this after the fact when the late offer came through, and how we could have handled this. But I felt it was very important that we brought something solid to consider an agreement to the city council as opposed to a maybe or what if. That's why it was done in this form, but it was reviewed by our attorney, developed with Mr. Hanson.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Councilwoman Valerius, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the presentation about the purchase of this property, and from a long-term standpoint, it certainly seems that selling the property to Alaska Frontier Fabrication, to me, it seems like that's an investment more long-term for the city, just because of the amount of people they bring into the area, the employees, the people potentially that they're employing. So to me, that seems like a better investment for us versus a bigger hole in the ground out there, which tends to go to Anchorage. So thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Councilwoman Burbrick, did
sure.
you have, I seen her lit just before Councilwoman Valerius started to speak, so let me check and see. Councilwoman Burbrick?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, okay, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I fully agree with Dr. Valerius. The code states real property shall be sold for not less than the fair market value, and this is not less than the fair market value. I think we are within our interpretation of the code to be able to put value on the investment of what this could do for our city, what it brings to our city. We have a lot of gravel pits. We don't have a lot of fabrication companies. And maybe one day that area will be annexed into the city, and that would be really great for us. So, and they would, I'm sure, be more than willing to be annexed into the city.
Further questions or comments from any of the rest of the council?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Best.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And if we look under the sale of disposition of real property under C, rights and powers, the city shall have and may exercise all rights and powers in the sale and disposal of real property. You know, I think that there's a lot of discretion that we're utilizing that, and I agree with the other council folks that have implied that this is probably potentially a better fit, and I think that's within our discretion. My question to the attorney is, there's a word that jumps out there that in B that I'm not quite familiar with, and so pardon my ignorance here. About this 6 lines down under B, it says, or any other lawful method or mode of conveying use. What is our mode?
I think that line, a word break typo, it should be.
Or mode.
Any other lawful method or mode of conveying to a grant.
Aha, that's what I was hoping you were going to say, but I was putting it out there that it didn't catch me, so maybe that's something that can go on our list of clerical adjustments to the code.
I think that's a very good point. And, you know, the code should be reviewed periodically for updates and so on. I know everybody's very busy and there's many things to do, but, you know, as the city clerk did on the elections, going through it and bringing it up to speed, that should occur in a number of code sections throughout the entire city code as a matter of regular practice.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the council? Alrighty, well, I'm going to jump in here and probably sound like maybe I'm going to be the only person that's not going to be voting for this, and I don't have any problem with what's presented, but if you look at O, On appraisal, it says, no real property shall be sold at a public sale unless the real property be sold has been appraised by a qualified appraiser within 180 days prior to the date of the resolution authorizing the public sale. And I know you are looking at the appraisal that was done in 2017, I believe. I would not sell my residential property for what it was appraised at in 2017. In fact, I would not sell anything right now. I mean, we bought ours 2 years ago. It has jumped up 20% within the last year. And I know this is not considered residential property. And the other thing that bothers me, I guess, is we are leaving $100,000 on the table. And tonight, I think we all were in agreement that we were very willing and would like to see, like the rodeo, we have to try to figure out where we're gonna get $15,000 to help them. And so, no offense to the people that have presented the offer. I think it sounds like a great thing. It would be a great fit for Palmer. But for me to be able to say to the rest of the citizens of Palmer, and let me ask you, if somebody wanted to buy your piece of property that you have, and then somebody else offered you $100,000 more, would you be willing to do that? And I think the answer would probably be no. And so I don't know what the solution is, whether we should go out and see if maybe if they would be willing to come up, if we should, they can have, I think, regarding the appraisal is very clear that we shall not sell unless there's been an appraisal in the last 180 days. So that's where I am. I'm gonna vote no on the resolution. Because I cannot, in good conscience, say to the citizens of Palmer that I sold an asset that I could have made $100,000+ in addition to them. So, and I agree like what Mike says, that you do have the flexibility, but I know what I have to do regarding the people. So the flexibility is there, I think, except for the appraisal. That's the one item that has not been met. And so maybe what we need to do is think about authorizing the city manager to get an appraisal. It probably will cost a couple $1,000s on a commercial piece of property. And then bring back and then give not only these people and the other offer, but put it out there, then this is what the price is going to be with the appraisal. And I hope that the fabrication place can find someplace closer to Palmer. We'd love to have them, but I'm sorry, I just cannot say to the senior citizens, the young families in Palmer that are facing stripes in their own for us to sell without having an appraisal and leaving $100,000 on the table. So, yes.
The point you bring up is one for the council to consider. It may be a good idea to postpone this to a time certain or remand it back to the city manager to conduct a more current appraisal and satisfy that concern you just expressed.
Yeah, I'm certainly open to it. And I don't know the fabrication people. I see them sitting here in front of me. And if they'd meet the offer that we have and we could get an appraisal and, you know, I would be happy to sell it to them. But so that's where I am. So other council comments?
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Okay, Councilwoman Burberk, I think she spoke first. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have to say that I agree with you, Madam Mayor. We're in charge of of being fiscally responsible with the city's money and property, and I would never, like you, sell any property that I have without a current appraisal. And so I think that we should go back to that and see where we are from there, and hopefully, they'll be able to put in another offer
Yeah.
for us.
Amen. And then Councilman Best, I think you were starting to say something.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I agree with that comment, with both your guys' comments. And I appreciate you bringing up the appraisal aspect. It does state clearly in the code, appraisal, no real property shall be sold in a public sale unless real property to be sold has been appraised by a qualified appraiser within 180 days prior to the date of resolution authorizing the public sale. So I think that's pretty clear. I think we have some flexibility of if you kind of the aesthetics of how a business might present itself to our community. There's some flexibility for us, but I also agree with both of you that we do have a fiduciary responsibility to get the most amount that we can for the city coffers, but there's also some things that we need to have done, like the appraisal. So I will move to postpone. Does the city manager have any idea how long you would like to have us push back for to obtain an appraisal? Any clues there?
Yes, John, go ahead.
Or does it does take time certain?
Okay, well, I don't, can I
So-
recognize John and see if he has any ideas?
So I do have, and the timing is going to be the timing. We'll move quickly as soon as I can find someone who he feels qualified. I do have a question for the attorney. Can I ask a question for the
Sure.
attorney?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Mr. Gaddy, if I obtain an appraisal, do I have to reveal the appraisal to the public?
Good point. Mike?
Madam Mayor, can you hear me?
Yep, yes, I can. Go ahead. I think everybody can, right?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mucci, I think that that's a question that you and I can talk about on the sideline as far as the process for that and how that will all operate.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
And may I ask another question of
Sure.
the city council?
Yeah.
And number one, I will, whatever decision you make, we're going to make it work as city council. I want you to know that.
Thank you.
The question I have, because it's mentioned about the use of the property, is my direction to get the highest price, or is there a component for what may end up on that site? Is there any consideration, or are we just, because if that's the case, we will put this, I think probably the best thing is to throw it out there, take sealed bids, and take the highest price. But if the city council wants to examine, well, the highest price is not important, what happens on that property is important, then we will not do that.
Okay.
So I'd like to have an indication, because it has mentioned what was going to go there versus what is not going to end up there, i.e. property, and highest, and dollars. So if the city council give me indication what's more important or equally important, that would be helpful to me. I will move straight away on an appraisal. And then once we have that back, then I think we can discuss how we want to put this on the market.
Okay, okay. Council want to go ahead? Yeah, Councilwoman Valerius? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to be able to evaluate both the bid amount and what the potential business or buyer would be. I think it's on the gateway into our town, and I think that is something that we need to think about. And just in terms of long down the road, what does that bring into our area and those things. So I'd like to see both things if that helps, Mr. Lucy.
Okay. Councilman Carrington? Yes, go ahead, sir.
I guess I lean the other way in that, it's part of our great gravel extravaganza out there. We've had the property for a while, and we've talked about selling it, so in my mind, I'm more interested in, you know, what money can we get for it, and I'm not, and I wouldn't disagree with Dr. Gallegos. I mean, I think there's a way to look at potential uses, but it just quickly becomes a factor that becomes difficult. And I guess I like also the idea of whatever process you bring forward is very public. Look, I mean, dealing with the city on public property is neither opinion. That's just how it goes. But keeping it above board so that people know that we're trying to do the right thing here is, to me, I'd like to structure it that way.
Okay.
Madam-
Councilwoman Berwick, you are next in my photos on Zoom. So I'd like to get a response from all of the council for John, and then, so Councilwoman Berwick, do you have some input for the city manager, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I would agree with Councilwoman Valerius. I feel like it would be our due diligence to get her appraisal, but I also think that we should then, if we have more than one bid, be able to evaluate the business that is, or the persons or whatever, to determine who we would want to sell the property to.
Okay. Councilman Best, you're under the next person in line there on the Zoom. What is your input?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, as it turns out, I think our forefathers that crafted our city charter and code kind of was able to appreciate the impact that we have right now, or the implication that we have, just a cold-hearted dollar amount, or the impact of the nuances of our city. Under G, under the sale and disposition of real property, industrial sites, notwithstanding any other subsections of this section, the city may sell, lease, or dispose of sites acquired for new industries benefiting the city upon the terms and conditions as the city council considers advantageous to the civic welfare of the city to a person who agrees to install, maintain, or operate a beneficial new industry. I don't know what the attorney's opinion on this, but I think that does give us the latitude to make sure that we are being fiduciary responsible to make sure we're getting the most money for the property that we can, but also being able to have the flexibility and foresight of the surrounding areas and within our city. So I have no problem having both information provided to us.
Okay. Councilman Daniels, what?
I just want to let John know that I also agree with some of the other council members in terms of the balance between thinking about the financial aspect, but also what does this look like for a long-term investment? Thinking, what do we want as people come into Palmer for it to look like? Yeah, so I think looking at the balance is good.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Coates?
Thank you. I fully agree with Councilman Best. I think that the code allows us to not only take into account dollars on the table, but dollars that could possibly be on the table in the future. This is a new type of business coming into not necessarily city limits, but into our area, and will impact us and bring people to shop there, to work there, to become taxpayers in Palmer when they have to go get gas up the road or stop at Fred Meyer on their way after buying a boat. So I would definitely want to see the different bids that come in. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I too, I think that all of the things that are in that chapter 080 needs to be brought into consideration, but I do think that we do need to have an appraisal first. And because then I think if we then allow some of the other things to balance that out, then we have some justification for being able to explain it to our citizens, rightfully or wrongfully, and maybe we'll get both. Maybe we'll get all of the money from the appraisal, and it'll be something that will add to our community. And so anyways, so John, does that give you enough instructions? Do we need to have, okay, I think Councilman Best started to make a motion to postpone. Is that, Councilman Best, will you tell me again what your motion was gonna be?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I was looking for more time certain,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know that we've actually gotten that. I guess we can leave it up to the discretion of the city manager to bring it back as quickly as possible.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what timeframes commercial appraisals are taking now. Yeah, John, go ahead.
So I do have a question. I appreciate Councilman Best bringing this up.
Uh-huh.
So is my direction to get an appraisal and bring it back to city council? Or is my direction to get an appraisal and then move forward with the public sale?
I think it's get the appraisal and then make it available to both of these bidders that we have now, as well as maybe anybody else that will come along, and we'll just, once you get the appraisal, then we can say, okay, well, we're gonna put it on the market for 2 weeks or 10 days or 5 days or a month, and let the offers come. Yeah, go ahead.
So is it important that we reveal the appraisal in your mind to our bidders? If our goal is to get the highest price, I guess I'm saying I'm not confident we're gonna get a $500,000 appraisal. And if I don't want to reveal that.
Yes, go ahead, Mike. Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Uh-huh.
I think that there's a lot of ideas, I think there's a lot of ideas that have been presented this evening, and they're all good ones. And I think that maybe one option is, of course, it's up to the council, but maybe one option is to have the manager start off with the appraisal. You can maintain this item in play, look at the options for going forward, and the council and the manager evaluates the different options available and present those to council in memo or something, and the council can then give specific direction on whether to go after public sale, consider this sale, or do something different. But we do have a lot of flexibility under the code. The appraisal is a factor in your consideration, but I think that you don't need to lock yourself into anything right now. And you can have an objective analysis of potential options going forward and make your choice after you have an opportunity to deliberate on those options.
Okay.
Those are just some of my comments. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Councilman Best, what about a suggestion like this to postpone this resolution and authorize or request the city manager to get an appraisal and report back to the council? Councilman Best?
Madam Mayor, I think the appraisal is fine. I think for the continued discussions with the potential buyers, and then to present that to council, I'm plenty satisfied with those discussions being had and then presented to council with the options that you were saying.
Okay, so is there a second to that motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so discussion on, let's see, can we debate the motion to postpone? We can, okay. So is there a discussion by the council? Yeah, John?
I apologize. I want to get this right.
Okay.
So I'm to get an appraisal,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm supposed to discuss the offer with Alaska Fabrication.
No, you do get the appraisal and come back to the council.
Okay, so
for
that's what I'm doing.
discussion.
So is that because it was stated just a little bit ago, I'm supposed to have a discussion with the two bidders, or the one bidder and then the one come later. So all I'm doing is getting an appraisal for city council, period. Okay, that's good. That's clear.
That's
Okay.
my understanding of the motion, is that correct? Yeah,
Madam Mayor,
yes?
what I was suggesting was start off with the appraisal, look at the options available to dispose of the property, not necessarily a conversation with any potential proposers, but look at those options, bring those options back to the city council, and have the city council make the choice as to what options under the code they would like to see implemented for the disposition of this property. That's what I was thinking.
Well, I think that's what this motion does. Yeah, I think, Mike, this is what this motion does, or at least maybe we haven't verbalized it enough, but I think that's what this motion does. Councilman Carrington, did you have a thought? Were you saying?
I think that's the intent.
Yeah, yeah, so, okay, alrighty. Okay. As always, we're generally always pretty close to the same place, but sometimes we put in a shall or a shouldn't or maybe or something, and then we get confused. So, okay, Madam Clerk, I think we're ready then for the roll call on the motion.
Motion to postpone and some. Okay.
Does
Thank
everybody,
you, Madam.
let me just ask for
Yes.
sure. Does everybody understand the motion that you're going to be voting on? Anyone want any clarification or discussion on that before we move forward? Okay, all right, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Madam
Thank you.
Councilmember Jill Valerius,
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Richard Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberich,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs,
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
okay. Righty, the next public hearing is on Resolution 20-030. I should ask, does anybody need to have a break or anything before we go to the next one, or should we plow through? Everybody ready? Okay. So the next item is a public hearing on Resolution number 20-030, approving the disposal of city property by vacation to Gardick Hayes General Contractor LLC, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents required for the vacation of the property to Gardick Hayes General Contractor LLC. Does the council want to have any staff report before we open? I guess we don't have staffs. We don't have staff. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing then. So anyone is welcome to address the council on Resolution 20-030. Okay, council, I don't see anyone coming forward, so I'm going to close the public hearing on Resolution 20-030. What is the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, is there a second? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Resolution 20-030. Discussion, amendments, questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, can we get a
Oh.
staff report?
Well, we don't have staff here right
It,
now.
it was originated by Mr. Hanson. I don't know if we can call him up.
Well, yeah, but we'd have to,
Got it.
we
we wanna
normally allow the city manager to, do it
Do
by
we want to just
different
call a
people.
quick 5-minute recess?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Okay, it's, according to our time here, we have 9:09, so let's come back at 9:20. Okay? yeah.
You pulled
Oh.
it out. You wasn't here.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the city council meeting back to order.
Chris was saying he might be here. Will you go get him, please?
Norma, she's
And-
muted.
He's coming right now. We're, oh, he's coming. Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, we're coming back to order, and Councilman Best had a request for a staff report on Resolution 20-030. And John requested that Community Development Director Brad Hansen come and address that. Or did you want to say something first, sir?
Yes, I would like to have Mr. Hanson address this.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna talk about almost something a lot different. We're gonna sell some more property.
Yeah, I know. And no appraisal, I know.
We're gonna have an appraisal. Okay, so what this resolution is for the disposal of, disposal of city property by vacation to Gary Case. Unfortunately, up on Eagle Street, we have two little lots. They were the old MTA lots that were sold to this contractor. He constructed a house on the lot that was on the western part of the two. It's Bonanza and Eagle, and the map is in your packet. And he encroached in our required 25-foot setbacks.
Right.
In our code, there are provisions for releasing the encumbrance, releasing the encroachment for a structure that's 25 years or older. However, for new structures that were constructed there is no provision to release this or to solve this encroachment. Fortunately, there was an alleyway behind this, an alleyway that's really extraordinary probably to the city of Palmer and there's needs because that alleyway is for city utilities. It's not for any type of roadway. The city utilities are in Eagle Street, which is, which this lot abuts, okay? And the lots behind it are served by a private septic. This house behind it was built prior to annexation when what's known as the on Eagle Street, the Bailey property was annexed, okay? And so that's what this is all about. This is this same model that we used when we vacated property to Fred Meyer for Dogwood when they purchased extra property in 2015. And so the borough has the plating authority. Garrett Hayes LLC has applied to the borough to replat the property, to purchase 4 feet of it to us, and then in the end, he will grant us an easement to be able to construct any type of public utilities that may or may not be put in the alleyway, which there is very little likelihood that any type of additional public utilities will be placed in that area. They may go further east, down more towards the fields that Bailey's own, and then the properties behind it, but not likely in this. As you see, they've got concurrence from the different departments, Public Works and the other community development. David bought off on it, and there was no objection to selling this as a vacation for this property. Like was mentioned earlier with the code, there needs to be constant scrutiny and review of it, and there needs to be something in our code that allows us to be able to satisfy a setback for a new house. I mean, we have a $250,000 asset that's sitting here that's basically a non-conforming, and we have to be able to put it in and make it a usable legal structure in the city so it's financeable and some of those other things. And so we're going to work on trying to solve that. Like I said earlier, we do have mechanisms for structures that are encroaching that are beyond a certain time frame that they have, or if there's a certain percentage that they're within this encroachment, we have ability to relieve those, but we don't in this case, and this is our only mechanism for solving this problem. So if anybody has any questions relating to the staff report, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, Councilman Best, did that address any questions you had?
Well, yes, I think it kind of gives us a kind of a historical perspective of things. The one question that I do have is much like the last discussion that we had about the selling of a city aspect is do we have an appraisal for this? And I think this is all we do that.
Okay, okay.
May I address that?
Go ahead,
Okay.
sir.
So, as with the last discussion, an appraisal is required within 180 days for a public sale. This is not a public sale, this is a vacation of the property. And so up above in fair market value, it says that the value assessed by the borough tax assessor. And so that was gonna be the figure that we used for the overall piece of the property, prorated for the vacation of the amount of properties. That was the value that we were gonna place on the vacation and the purchase price to the city of Palmer. This was a mistake by this developer, and I will almost guarantee he won't make it again. The penalty that he's paying through the course of this vacation is fairly substantial, with the replatting of the borough, with the attorney fees for drafting the agreement, the easement. So it's going to be a substantial bill in the end to him, and so that is what we're looking at is that we're prorating based on the borough assessed value, because it's not a public sale, it's a sale by vacation.
Okay. Yeah, you're right, and the house sits there, the property sits there, and he can't sell it until all this is done, right? So, I mean, the interest on his loan, and as well as all of that. So, I mean, not only out of his pocket cash things like you were talking about, but just the amount of investment that's sitting there. So, Councilman Best, did that further clarify what you wanted? Mm-hmm.
I appreciate Director Hanson giving us that explanation. I think that allows us to clearly understand the nuances between these two property disposals, so that we can act accordingly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see, Madam Clerk, do I have a motion? Yes. I do, okay, good, thank you. So further questions, comments, any amendment to the motion on resolution 20-030? Okay, Madam Clerk, will you go ahead and take the roll then for the vote?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Jill Valerius,
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Richard Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberich,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs,
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. The next public hearing that I will open in a minute is on resolution 20-031, authorizing round 3 of the City of Palmer COVA's Aid Relief and Economic Security Act CARES grants. Does anyone want a staff report before I open the public hearing? Okay. So the public hearing is now open on resolution 20-031. Anyone that wants to address the council, if they're representing themselves, 3 minutes, or if they're representing a group, 5 minutes. Okay, seeing no one come forth, council, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing unless you have some objections. Okay, so the public hearing is now closed. What is the wishes of the council for resolution 20-031?
Madam Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, Councilmember Valerius, did you, okay. Thank you. Okay, so the motion has been made to move and approve. Discussion, amendments to the motion? Okay, Madam Clerk, I think we're ready then for the vote. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Councilmember Jill Valerius,
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Daniels,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Richard Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberich,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sabrina Combs,
Yes.
Mayor Eden DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we're ready. The next item on our agenda is new business, Committee of the Whole regarding the presentation of the 2021 budget. Note action may be taken by the council following the Committee of the Whole. And so it is 9:30. Do you want to have some discussion on this or postpone it and for our last council meeting at 6 o'clock on the 24th? What is the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, I was very ambitious earlier about capital improvements, and I think a 6 o'clock meeting on the 24th would be more than enough time to discuss capital improvement projects.
Okay. Is it, yes?
So, sorry, I apologize to interrupt. As a parliamentary process?
Uh-huh.
As a parliamentary process with no motion to
Right.
enter in committee of the whole, the item fails. So either a motion can be made, there's no need for a motion to postpone,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
It just is an item that won't be heard, as there will be no motion put on the floor.
But it can go forth to the meeting of the 24th.
Yes, the
Okay.
intent will, as to move forward, that yes, we will be having a special meeting at 6 o'clock on the 24th
I know,
with this
I
item.
just teasing.
Mayor.
Okay, I'm gonna close then the committee of the whole, and we will direct and wrap it up on the 24th, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Clerk, a record of items placed on the table?
We had supplement material for the mayor's report. We had written testimony provided under for resolution 20029. We had Palmer Municipal Code reference provided to council also that related to resolution number 2029. And as Seth Grove tonight provided his verbal report, he did supplement that with a written report
Great.
of his as
Good.
well. So that will
Good.
be provided in the package.
Good, okay. The next item on our agenda is audience participation. Anyone in the audience is welcome to address the council. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing a group.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mike Molesky. I reside at 325 East Fireweed Avenue here in Palmer. This happens to be a land day for me. I had the pleasure of interviewing two people from the borough who are involved with land sales in the borough. One, Lisa and Nancy, and they were very, very informative. And I also had the opportunity to sit in, listen, and report on a meeting that recently happened that involved the Chancellor and President of the University of Alaska in a process to determine just who should be the players in looking at an issue associated with the farm and the potential value of that farm. And the reason why I wanted to mention it is because I know that the council has looked toward that issue because as with Hatcher Pass, that farm is within the greater Palmer area. And what happens there just doesn't stay there, it affects the city. So I'm thinking that as you were walking through a very interesting question about a piece of property, which in some respects bears resemblance to the farm, somewhat similar issue of gravel extraction versus some other use, at least one that's been presented here, and then the question of value. As many of you know, the university is taking time to do the evaluation to figure out just what that value is of the gravel that would be extracted. And it has invited a lot of other players to throw in, to take a look and say, well, what else could be done with the property? This case seems to be similar, but it's also simpler in the sense that you have one very clearly defined party that has said, this is what we'd like to do with it, and we believe we have some value to the city going forward. But in both cases, you're still operating with a, well, we can sort of get a sense of what that business would do, but we don't know, we get an upfront dollar value in what's going to be paid for it for gravel extraction. And does that in any way then lessen that area as a part of the greater Palmer area? And how much, since it isn't within the city, how much concern do we have with it? So I want to commend you for taking time to do this. It would be nice to have resolution, but I think you've handed Mr. Musi, as manager, an interesting problem of getting the information necessary so that you can make a good decision. But it's not just this one piece. Sometimes we forget about it, but there are a lot of moving parts in this area that involve land. So thank you for doing the work.
Anyone else in the audience? Yeah, I don't know how many the council can remember. I think it was back last January when we were looking at all of the property that the city owned. And when we looked at that property, because it was tied to the Springer system, we thought maybe there was some agricultural benefits. But then we talked to the gentleman that had tried to raise, whatever out there, some different kinds of wheats or grasses or something, and the topsoil was so, so anyway, so it's interesting to see, how it evolves. So at least that's been taken off of the table now. Then the next question, but yeah. Sometimes government moves slowly, but sometimes it's maybe better that it does, so. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, I'm gonna close audience participation. And I'll start with council comments with those in here by me today. Deputy Mayor Combs, you have comments?
Thank you. I just have a few. Let's see. I really hope everyone takes some time to attend AML next week. They've put a lot of work into it. And as the clerk mentioned earlier, there is a new portal. But one exciting thing is if you sign yourself up and start filling out all your things, you will be eligible to win 2 round-trip tickets anywhere Alaska Airlines flies. So there's going to be kind of a points competition all week for participation in AML to encourage people to log on. So you could win something, which is really exciting. Oh, you weren't sharing that on purpose. I got it. I'm going to win it, so too bad. I was really excited about Frank's presentation for Rodeo Alaska today. That event, he and I spoke about it prior to tonight's meeting, and and looking at the type of people that brings, the amount of people that events like that bring, the fact that this is the first time something like this is happening in Alaska, let alone the Valley. This could potentially bring over 10,000 people to our town 2 weeks before Colony Days. If the state of the world allows it to happen, it's going to be a huge boom for our community. So I'm really excited that there's equal enthusiasm among the council. So thank you. I want to wish a belated happy birthday to Mr. Brad Hansen. He's celebrated a birthday this week, which I learned by accident, but happy birthday. And I just want to wish a happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans. Enjoy your day tomorrow. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Daniels, you have comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say thanks to our presenters tonight, and also a huge thanks to all the folks at AML. I attended the newly elected official training, and it was extremely informative, and everyone was awesome. So it's time well worth spent, and I'll be attending more. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Councilwoman Best, I'll start down at the bottom corner there. Councilwoman Best, do you have comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, it was kind of an interesting comment by one of the other councilmen about the gravel property and kind of the how long it is in our vision to discuss and kind of in our we bantered it back back and forth. There's been some exciting proposals, some heartbreak. The city itself has made some pretty decent money out of different aspects of it.
Right, we made a lot of money.
And I'm sure Director Hanson was very eager to finally wash his hands for the city of Palmer to wash his hands of this, because it has been probably 18 years since we first started to get involved in that, probably pretty close to that. So it has been interesting, and hopefully we can find resolution at some point.
Yeah, you're right. We've dealt with that property a lot, but I would think it would be more than 18 years because of Bill Herman. I think he passed away, must have been in the 90s or something, but I could be mistaken about that. So anyway, he left us the tennis courts also, but we haven't had quite as much activity on that. Councilman Carrington.
I just wanted to go on record that I know our attorney was referencing that, code is important and that everybody should be looking at code. And I just want to go on record that's a fallacy. Only attorneys and clerks believe that. That you should be looking at your code all the time. I just want to correct.
Councilwoman Valerius. Councilwoman Valerius.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It sounds like a happy birthday is due to Mr. Hanson. And, I had forgotten to mention this previously, but I was really impressed, and I wanted to thank the city clerk after the election, because I actually got a little letter saying that my ballot was received and counted. And I think that that's really cool for somebody to get that. So that acknowledgement is really nice. So I appreciate the extra effort, and I haven't asked anybody else about it, but I presume that they like that too. And I would say before it gets cold or maybe it rains too much tomorrow, if you're a skier or, I don't know, snow or shoe or anything outside, go like up to Government or Hatcher, because it's really nice right now.
Good. Okay. Councilwoman Burbrick.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too received the notice from the city clerk's office that my ballot had been received, and so that was pretty cool. And then I can't believe I'm going to say this in regards to what Mr. Carrington said, but thank goodness for clerks and attorneys. I'm a really big fan of radio, and I'm excited. This is an exciting prospect, I think. And I'm happy to hear that so many other people on the council also find that to be an exciting prospect for the city of Palmer. So I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I will adjourn the meeting.